In 1944, deep inside a collapsing Reich, German engineers rolled out the largest tank ever built, 188 tons of steel. The Panzer ate mouse, a machine so huge that bridges couldn't carry it, and so slow that a man could jog beside it. It was the Nazi dream of invincibility turned into metal, a tank that nothing could destroy, designed for a war that was already lost. And while the legend says it fired once before disappearing into history, the truth is even stranger. By 1942, the German army was losing its technological edge. The Soviets were rolling out T-34s by the thousands, and the massive KV-1 had shown that German anti-tank guns could be outclassed. Hitler's answer wasn't efficiency, it was excess. He wanted a tank so heavily armored it could crush anything in front of it and shrug off anything the enemy threw back. At one meeting, he told his designers, "The next tank must be invulnerable." In practice, that order landed on the desk of Ferdinand Porsche, the man already behind the Tiger P and the Ferdinand tank destroyer. Porsche's team at Stuttgart had built engines for sports cars. Now they were asked to design a rolling fortress. The project started as the Mäuschen, Little Mouse, a joke that stuck even after the tank grew beyond any sense of reason. To build it, Porsche needed help from Krupp AG, the industrial giant that would forge its armor and create the monstrous turret. What followed was less a military design program and more a contest of egos, one that ignored every logistical law of warfare. Porsche wanted something that would make the Tiger look like a toy. His engineers planned frontal armor up to 220 millimeters thick, enough to stop any Allied shell then in existence. For firepower, Krupp designed a twin-gun turret. The main 12.8 centimeter tank gun, the same caliber as a field gun, paired with a 7.5 centimeter coaxial gun for secondary targets. The whole machine would weigh close to 188 tons, nearly 3 times a Tiger. No conventional gearbox could survive that, so Porsche proposed an electric drive, a 1,200 horsepower engine running generators that powered electric motors in the tracks. It was elegant on paper, nearly unmanageable in real life. By mid-1943, a full-scale wooden mock-up stood in front of Hitler himself. He was delighted. He ordered 150 built. No one in the room told him Germany barely had enough steel or fuel to build 5. The Maus project moved from sketches to steel at Porsche's facilities in Stuttgart in late 1943. The first prototype, V1, was a bare hull with test weights instead of a turret. The second, V2, would carry the full fighting setup. But by then, Allied bombers were already pounding German industry. Every stage of the build exposed a new absurdity. No factory crane in Germany could lift the turret in one piece. Each section had to be built separately and assembled on-site at Krupp's Essen plant, then hauled by rail on special wagons that could barely handle the load. Armor plates over 200 millimeters thick demanded new rolling mills and special welding techniques. Even the paint had to be reformulated. Ordinary coating cracked under heat from the welding process. By the time V1 was ready for trials, it had become a mechanical paradox, an invincible tank that could barely move itself. The Maus was meant to run on a Mercedes-Benz MB 509 aircraft engine, a 1,080 horsepower gasoline monster connected to Porsche's electric transmission. On paper, that gave a top speed of about 20 kilometers an hour. In testing, it struggled to reach half that. Its power-to-weight ratio was worse than a city bus. Bridges couldn't hold it, so engineers designed a submersion system. The tank could drive under rivers on the riverbed, while another Maus on the far bank supplied power through a cable. It worked once in shallow tests, and everyone immediately realized how suicidal it would be in combat. Fuel consumption was nightmarish. The Maus burned so much gasoline that refueling it in the field would have taken an entire convoy. At full weight, turning on soft ground risked snapping its tracks. The electric motors overheated under load, and replacing one meant partial disassembly of the entire rear hull. By 1944, Porsche's engineers were fighting physics itself, and physics was winning easily. The first real trials took place at Kummersdorf and Böblingen in 1944. The V-1 hull rumbled through short runs, shaking the ground and terrifying anyone nearby. Observers noted that every time it moved, tiles rattled loose in nearby buildings. The V-2, equipped with its full turret, was shipped for armament and armor testing. Reports called it Fahrzeug 205 V2. Its 12.8-centimeter gun fired live rounds at range with devastating accuracy when the tank actually worked. Engine failures, overheating, and electrical faults were constant. As Allied forces closed in on Germany, both prototypes were sent back to Kummersdorf for safekeeping. When the Red Army advanced in 1945, German crews destroyed them to prevent capture. Soviet engineers later recovered the remains, assembled one functional vehicle from the two, and shipped it to Moscow. That hybrid V-1 hull, V-2 turret still sits today at the Kubinka Tank Museum, the only Maus ever to survive. The Maus never went to war, but it did fire. Testing began at the Hillersleben Proving Ground, one of the German Army's main ordnance sites west of Magdeburg. Here, technicians from Krupp and WWII 6, the weapons testing office, ran live trials of the 12.8-centimeter gun mounted in the Maus's full turret. Observers recorded that the weapon could punch straight through the frontal armor of a Soviet IS-2 at over a kilometer. But that was a range test, not combat. The Maus fired once myth probably started after the war, when photographs of these firing trials were reprinted without captions. No Maus ever rolled out against Allied forces. By the time the guns were working, Germany had lost the fuel, transport capacity, and time to move a 188-ton vehicle anywhere near the front. In late 1944, the Maus program was quietly terminated. Hitler had turned his attention to newer wonder weapon fantasies: rockets, jet aircraft, submarine prototypes. At Kummersdorf, the two completed prototypes, V-1 and V-2, sat side by side, too heavy to move and too valuable to waste manpower guarding. When Soviet forces closed in during April 1945, the German crews blew both up to prevent capture. They failed. Red Army engineers recovered the wreckage, bolted the V-2 turret onto the less damaged V-1 hull, and shipped the hybrid east for study. It arrived at Kubinka, near Moscow, in 1946. Soviet testers ran engine checks, measured armor, and wrote brief reports describing the Maus as a remarkable but unrealistic design. While Allied factories built thousands of medium tanks that could be shipped, bridged, and repaired, the Reich tried to build one invincible tank that couldn't even cross a river. Inside its 200mm armor was the mindset that doomed it, faith that technology alone could replace strategy, logistics, and common sense. The vehicle was never restored to running condition, but it became a permanent exhibit, the only Maus still in existence. Today, the Maus draws crowds at Kubinka's Patriot Park, an enormous green-painted hulk sitting low to the ground, the final symbol of a war's wasted genius.